Imagine discovering that everything the X-Men have fought for is about to be shattered by a single mission. What if the next episode isn't just another battle, but the beginning of a war that changes every mutant forever? The Episode 6 trailer quietly hides several clues that many fans completely missed, and one of them could reveal the biggest twist of the season. Stay until the end because the final scene may completely change how we look at the X-Men's future. The trailer opens with an atmosphere that feels far darker than the previous episodes. There are no unnecessary action shots. Instead, every frame feels like it's warning us that something dangerous is approaching. Marvel has always used silence before chaos, and this trailer follows that exact formula. The team doesn't look confident anymore. They look divided. That's our first major clue that Episode 6 won't simply be about fighting a villain, it will be about surviving impossible choices. The biggest detail appears almost immediately. The Danger Room is shown in a way we've never seen before. At first glance, it looks like another training session, but look carefully. The environment behaves differently. The walls shift on their own, the technology reacts before anyone gives commands, and every obstacle seems to predict the X-Men's movements. This suggests that the Danger Room itself may no longer be under their control. If that's true, then one terrifying question appears. Who is really controlling it? Is someone hacking Xavier's systems from outside? Or has the Danger Room evolved into something much more intelligent than anyone expected? Marvel Comics have explored the idea of the Danger Room becoming self-aware before, and the trailer may finally be bringing that concept into the animated universe. Now notice Wolverine. His expressions throughout the trailer are completely different from earlier episodes. Instead of charging straight into battle, he pauses. He looks confused, almost as if he's questioning whether the enemies around him are even real. That could mean Episode 6 isn't only about physical danger, it could be psychological warfare. Imagine every hero being forced to face their greatest fears, their biggest regrets, and their darkest memories at exactly the wrong moment. But here's where things become even more interesting. Cyclops appears unusually calm despite the growing crisis. Usually when danger arrives, he's the first one giving orders. This time, however, he almost looks like he's already expecting disaster. Did Professor Xavier warn him about something? Is there information the rest of the team doesn't know yet? Marvel loves creating situations where one character carries a secret that slowly destroys team unity. Episode 6 could easily follow that pattern. Another fascinating moment comes from Jean Grey. The trailer briefly focuses on her face before cutting away almost instantly. That usually isn't random editing. Marvel often uses these quick emotional shots to hide important story developments. Is Jean sensing another powerful telepath nearby? Or is someone invading her mind before the battle even begins? Think about it. If the enemy can manipulate thoughts, then nobody inside the mansion can trust what they're seeing anymore. Every friend could become an enemy. Every victory could be an illusion. Every decision could be exactly what the villain wants. That's the kind of suspense this trailer is building. Then we reach what might be the biggest clue of all. Several quick shots suggest that the X-Men aren't fighting a traditional monster at all. Instead, they're fighting the environment itself. Doors close unexpectedly. Technology activates without commands. Escape routes disappear. Everything around them becomes the enemy. That completely changes the stakes. Instead of asking who can punch harder, Episode 6 asks a much scarier question. How do you defeat an opponent that already controls your battlefield? This also explains why the trailer avoids showing long action sequences. Marvel doesn't want to reveal the true nature of the threat yet. Instead, they're building mystery. Every short scene creates more questions than answers, forcing fans to analyze every frame repeatedly. Another detail fans may overlook is how separated the X-Men appear throughout the trailer. Very few shots show the entire team together. Most scenes isolate individual heroes or small groups. That's rarely accidental. Dividing the team removes their greatest strength. Working together, imagine Wolverine trapped alone, imagine Storm losing contact with Cyclops, imagine Rogue facing an enemy without Gambit's support. Each isolated battle becomes far more dangerous than one large team fight. And then comes the emotional side of the trailer. Marvel understands that audiences don't remember explosions, they remember sacrifices. Episode 6 seems ready to test every relationship inside the X-Men. Trust may become more valuable than strength. One wrong decision could cost someone everything. There's also another possibility that cannot be ignored. What if this episode isn't introducing a completely new threat? What if it's preparing the battlefield for an even bigger villain waiting later this season? Marvel often places these transitional episodes right before the story explodes into its biggest conflict. Episode 6 may quietly plant clues that won't fully make sense until the season finale. That means every background detail matters, every line of dialogue matters, even every second of silence matters, and that's exactly why this trailer deserves multiple re-watches. One final theory could explain almost everything we've seen. Suppose the Danger Room has evolved beyond simple technology. Instead of following programmed simulations, it begins creating challenges based on each mutant's deepest fears and emotional weaknesses. Suddenly, the mission isn't about escaping a room anymore. It's about escaping yourself. That would create one of the most emotional X-Men episodes ever made, because every character would be forced to confront personal failures before they could save anyone else. It would also perfectly fit the themes Marvel has been building throughout the season: identity, fear, teamwork, and sacrifice. But Marvel trailers are famous for hiding their biggest surprises. Some scenes could be intentionally edited out of order. Certain conversations may belong to completely different moments. Entire action sequences might have been removed just to protect the episode's final twist. So here's the question every fan should be asking before episode 6 finally arrives. Is the real enemy waiting inside the Danger Room, or has the X-Men's greatest weapon already become their greatest nightmare? Keep watching closely, because one overlooked frame in this trailer might already reveal the answer. The trailer keeps raising more questions than answers, and that's exactly why episode 6 could become one of the most unpredictable chapters of the season. If you think you've already figured out what's going to happen, don't be so sure. Marvel has a history of showing one story in the trailer while hiding the real twist until the episode airs. And there's one detail near the middle of this preview that almost everyone overlooked. Let's start with the pacing of the trailer itself. It begins slowly, allowing viewers to absorb every emotional expression before suddenly accelerating into rapid cuts of action. That editing style usually means the emotional conflict is just as important as the physical battle. In other words, the biggest fight in episode 6 may not be against a villain, it may be against doubt, fear, and impossible decisions. One of the most interesting moments is how every member of the X-Men seems to react differently to the same crisis. Wolverine immediately prepares for combat. Storm appears focused on protecting the team. Cyclops remains unusually composed, while Jean Grey looks as if she's sensing something that nobody else can feel. These reactions suggest that each character is experiencing the threat in a different way. But why? Could the enemy be manipulating each mutant individually? If everyone is seeing a different reality, then teamwork becomes almost impossible. Imagine trying to fight beside someone when you can't even be sure you're looking at the same battlefield. Another clue appears in the trailer's lighting. Throughout the preview, bright blue tones quickly shift into deep red shadows. That color transition isn't just for style. Marvel frequently uses lighting to hint at emotional changes or hidden danger. Blue often represents control and hope, while red signals chaos, anger, or corruption. The trailer repeatedly switches between those colors, almost suggesting that the balance inside the X-Men is about to collapse. Now pay attention to the action scenes. They look intense, but notice how few actual impacts the trailer shows. Instead of revealing complete fights, Marvel cuts away at the last possible second. That's a classic technique used to hide major opponents or unexpected allies. It keeps viewers focused on the heroes while protecting the episode's biggest surprise. Here's another theory. What if episode 6 introduces a threat that cannot simply be defeated with strength? The X-Men have always been at their best when they combine their powers with intelligence and trust. If the enemy attacks their minds instead of their bodies, then every battle becomes psychological. One wrong decision could turn friends into enemies, and one illusion could change the outcome of the entire mission. There's also a possibility that the trailer is quietly setting up events that will affect the rest of the season. Marvel often plants subtle clues long before revealing their importance. A short conversation, a mysterious glance, or even a background object can later become the key to understanding the finale. That means fans shouldn't just watch the trailer, they should study it. Every frame matters. Every expression matters. Every line of dialogue could hide a second meaning, another fascinating detail is how isolated several characters appear throughout the preview. Rather than showing the X-Men united as one powerful team, the trailer repeatedly separates them into smaller groups or even individual shots. That creates tension because the team's greatest strength has always been working together. Imagine Wolverine trapped with no backup. Imagine Storm forced to choose between saving civilians or rescuing her teammates. Imagine Cyclops making a decision that could divide the entire team. Those aren't just action scenes, they're emotional conflicts that could have lasting consequences. And then there's the possibility of betrayal. The trailer never clearly identifies every character's role during the conflict. That uncertainty opens the door to one of Marvel's favorite storytelling techniques, making viewers question who can truly be trusted, whether it's mind control, deception, or hidden motives. Episode 6 could force the X-Men to doubt even their closest allies. As the trailer reaches its final moments, the editing becomes faster and the music grows more intense. Yet, just before the end, everything suddenly slows down. Marvel often uses this contrast to signal that the biggest reveal has been deliberately removed. It's almost as if the trailer is stopping 1 second before showing the truth, and that's what makes this preview so exciting. It isn't trying to explain the story. It's challenging fans to solve it. So here's one final question to think about before episode 6 arrives. What if the greatest danger isn't the villain we've been expecting? What if the biggest threat is a choice that one of the X-Men is forced to make? If that's true, then episode 6 won't simply deliver another superhero battle. It could completely reshape the future of the team and leave fans talking long after the credits roll. Everything we've discussed so far points toward one conclusion: episode 6 isn't designed to answer every question. It's designed to prepare viewers for something much bigger. Marvel has always rewarded fans who pay attention to the smallest details, and this trailer is packed with moments that could become incredibly important later in the season. One thing that stands out is how carefully the trailer avoids revealing its central antagonist. We see reactions, explosions, destroyed environments, and emotional conversations, but the real source of the danger is kept almost completely hidden. That isn't an accident. Marvel usually hides its biggest reveals until the episode itself, allowing fans to create dozens of theories before finally delivering the truth. Now ask yourself this: why would Marvel hide the villain if the action alone was enough to sell the episode? The answer could be simple: because the identity of the enemy is the twist. Whether it's an unexpected mutant, a returning threat, advanced technology, or something connected to the X-Men's own past, the trailer clearly wants viewers looking in the wrong direction. Another fascinating clue is the emotional tone of the preview. Nearly every major character looks more serious than usual. Their expressions aren't filled with confidence, they're filled with uncertainty. That tells us this episode is likely to focus on consequences instead of victories. Think back to some of the greatest X-Men stories ever told. The battles people remember most aren't always the biggest ones. They're the moments when friendships are tested, sacrifices are made, and impossible choices change everything. Episode 6 seems to be following that same formula. The trailer also hints that communication between the team may completely break down. Characters are shown separated, reacting independently, and making split-second decisions. That's exactly the kind of situation where misunderstandings happen. And misunderstandings can be just as dangerous as any supervillain. Now let's talk about one of the biggest possibilities. What if the trailer is intentionally hiding a surprise character? Marvel has built its reputation on unexpected appearances. Sometimes a character only appears for a few seconds, yet completely changes the direction of the story. The trailer leaves enough unexplained footage to make that theory feel possible. Imagine the shock if an old ally suddenly returns. Imagine the impact if a familiar enemy reveals an entirely new plan, or imagine discovering that someone the X-Men trusted has secretly been working toward a completely different goal all along. Those possibilities make every second of the trailer worth analyzing. Another interesting detail is the pacing of the dialogue. There are several moments where conversations seem incomplete, almost as if important lines have been removed. Marvel often edits trailers this way to avoid revealing key plot points. Entire conversations can be rearranged, shortened, or taken out of context to protect the episode's biggest surprises. That's why fans should never assume the trailer is showing events in chronological order. One scene might actually belong to the ending. Another could happen before the opening credits. Marvel has used this editing trick many times, and it works because it keeps viewers guessing until the very end. The visual effects also deserve attention. Energy bursts, shifting environments, and rapidly changing backgrounds suggest that reality itself may not be stable. Whether that's caused by advanced technology, mutant abilities, or another mysterious force, it creates an atmosphere where nothing can be trusted. If reality is changing, how can the X-Men know what's real? That single question could define the entire episode. And perhaps the most important lesson from this trailer is that brute strength may not be enough. Every hint points toward a conflict that demands intelligence, teamwork, and emotional resilience. The heroes won't just need powerful abilities, they'll need complete trust in one another. But what happens if that trust disappears? What happens if fear spreads through the team? What happens if one mistake gives the enemy exactly what they wanted? Those questions create the suspense that makes this trailer so effective. Before we finish, here's one final theory that could connect everything we've seen. Suppose episode 6 isn't the climax at all. Suppose it's the turning point, the moment where every hero realizes the threat is far greater than they. Imagine. The moment where alliances begin to shift. The moment where the season truly changes direction. If that's the case, then the trailer has already done its job perfectly. It hasn't spoiled the story, it has made fans desperate to discover the truth. Now it's your turn. Which theory do you believe is most likely? Do you think the hidden danger is a new villain, a returning enemy, advanced technology, or someone the X-Men already know? Share your prediction in the comments, because after episode 6 premieres, we'll come back to see which theories were right, and which shocking twists nobody saw coming. Until then, keep your eyes open, watch every frame carefully, and remember, when it comes to Marvel, the biggest secrets are usually hidden in plain sight.